Hello and welcome to Upper Pen. My name is Dakota, and today I get to talk with a bona fide book talk star, Cait Jacobs, about their upcoming book, The Princess and Knight. Thank you for joining me, Cait.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, for folks who might not know yet, what is the elevator pitch?
So basically, think it's basically about a princess who I like to joke people pleases her way into a military academy in order to win back the prince that ruined their betrothal plans. And while she's there, she meets a warrior who happens to be said prince's best friend, and they uncover some threats to their kingdoms and maybe fall in love. You never know.
Okay, that was short and sweet. So when I was reading this book, I noticed that you have a lot of high fantasy elements in it, especially like the world building. But then you
Mhm.
also have very accessible characters, which I don't think is always in high fantasy.
Mhm.
Were those characters always meant to be incredibly accessible?
Yeah, when I was looking at this book, I was kind of looking at your typical like 2000s rom-com character archetypes. And I just thought it would be really fun to have those character archetypes in the type of worlds that I love, which is high fantasy, and what roles those types of characters would play in those worlds. So because those types of rom-coms are usually have a lot more mass market appeal, it made it a lot more accessible for people who maybe don't read fantasy as much to be able to get to know these characters and jump into their worlds a little bit easier.
And then you have these really very high fantasy place names. So they're kind of like Irish inspired names
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Um, was the setting difficult to nail down in any way?
A little. So it's actually funny. This book changed a lot between drafts. And the first draft, the setting was similar in the medieval aspect and, the classic high fantasy. But the Irish influence over it was much lighter. Mostly because I didn't feel fully equipped at that time. But over time, I was working with an Irish tutor. I was spending a lot of time with my grandmother, and we were talking about Irish folklore and Irish history. And I just wanted to add that into the story so much because it was what I was spending so much of my day to day about. So it came in pieces, but it wasn't that hard once I realized how much I wanted to include it.
Okay. So how long did you work on this project then? Because it sounds like it's been a bit of a journey.
It has a little bit. So I wrote the first draft in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wrote it. I think I had the idea summer 2018, wrote it in fall of 2018, and then was too afraid to edit it for so long. It scared me. I focused on other things in the meantime, and I got back to it around or 2020 is when I started looking at it again, and then 2022 was really when I doubled down, got back to it, and then somehow sold it that year.
Well, so putting that distance though is usually really good for people to be able to edit because they don't feel so attached anymore. Uh,
Yes. I was very much able to kill my darlings. Um, because of that, I was able to get some distance and really change a lot of the structure. I rewrote the book basically. It was the same general plot, but I changed the tense, I changed the perspective, I changed from single to dual narration. Like I was able to get rid of so much and change so much because I had a lot more emotional distance.
Well, those are the perfect things to change in revision too, because like, especially the dual POV, maybe you didn't realize you needed Ronan to be telling part of this story.
Exactly. No, it was exactly that. When it was just Clea's story, I felt like there was like a level that we weren't getting to. There was a lot that we weren't seeing. Poor Ronan like disappeared for part of Act 3. And it was when I got to add his story that I feel like the book really came into itself.
I do think it adds a an older dynamic, or like it moves it beyond just YA, having it beyond that first person single narration.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Which YA, there's nothing wrong with YA. I'm just saying it does elevate it so that there's a much wider audience, in my opinion.
Yeah, it changes the audience type a little bit. It shifts it
Um,
over.
Well, yeah, and there's so much like romantasy in particular right now that has dual POVs, so it fits in really well with um what people want right now, it feels like.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it kind of helped because I'm also obviously a reader and I love reading dual POV. It's my favorite. I have a bit of a preference for it. So when it made it one, it made writing it more fun. And also it made me like, if I love this so much, I imagine people will also be as excited as I am for having a dual POV.
Yeah. I remember reading Twilight as a kid and being like, well, why isn't there more of his opinion? Seems like maybe there should be.
It's like you want to know what's going on in Edward's head. What
Yeah.
is he thinking? Now we have a whole book for that, but back then,
Yeah. No, back then there was nothing. And then the other thing that I love, which you don't have too many POVs either. So like I'm thinking like Game of Thrones, where I literally get lost, like person to person. I care about Arya pretty much, and that's it.
I love having wide multiple POVs sometimes when I'm reading, but I think for me the story was so much
Yeah.
about Clea and Ronan. And, in my brain, I have ideas about stuff for other characters, for other things, but this specific story was so centered around them that felt like it would have taken away if I focused on anyone else for too long.
I'm waiting for Donald's story now too, though.
That is, listen, I want to write it so bad. I have ideas.
Oh, goodness. So going back to you being a reader, did any of your book talk things influence how you approached this book?
I think it did. So when I wrote the first draft, it was before book talk and all of that. I was a book blogger at the time, but I definitely wasn't as involved in the community as I am now. So the first draft was purely writer brain, what I want to do. But then as I was revising it, I definitely considered, first off, just how my taste changed, but also what I've seen with people online. It was very much a thing where the story came first, and what my goal with the story was definitely came first, but I was able to also see, like, okay, I was able to basically reinforce my decisions and make myself feel better about my decisions, being like, okay, wait, I know there's demand for these types of things, like with the dual point of view. I was like, okay, I've seen online people like that kind of stuff. And it did also, I would keep in mind while I was writing it, being like, okay, how would I even talk about this? And I need to make sure this is something I can talk about easily online. Um, so I was keeping that in mind throughout the revision process.
Okay. I have a lot of people that their books are really complex and they're like, I don't have an elevator pitch. It's too much.
That I during I think it was in like my third draft. I think it was actually no, my first round of edits with my publisher where I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh wait, I need to like really make sure I know how to talk about this and that I can like come up with an elevator pitch. I can figure out the tropes. I remember I even posted a video being like, I don't know what the tropes are. Someone help me. Because I needed to figure out how I could market this online because unfortunately that is a big part of being an author.
Yes.
And I needed to figure out the best way to do it while also, luckily, I was in a place where I could make changes that felt they still served the story.
Yeah. So that to me sounds like a difficult challenge though, because you have such a broad audience. It would have like you
Yeah.
maybe not broad, but like a very large audience. So going on and asking like, hey, I need help seems like opening of the floodgates.
It can be sometimes. Luckily, I think with my community, people are so friendly and nice and eager to help. But it is definitely you get people from all different tastes, all different genre preferences and subgenre preferences who prefer different tropes and stuff like that. So it did help at least get like a wide range of opinions on things,
Mhm.
which was really fun. And it added a bit of challenge because I wanted to make sure this was a book that they would all like, but then I kind of had to go to myself and be like, they're not all gonna like it. That's
Yeah.
just impossible. I'm a people pleaser. I wonder where Clea gets it from. And so I really had to accept the fact that it'll just find its audience. hopefully there will be some overlap, in that Venn diagram with the audience I already have. But there's also going to be some that don't fall into it, and that's okay.
I do think more authors need to reaffirm themselves of this. It's okay to not have everybody love everything.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's I think a lot of authors I know we all have that mentality of just like we care about our art and but we want it to be light. We want to be perceived well with it. And I know a few friends and I really struggle with that.
Well, it's not something that ever really goes away. It just you have to remind yourself to write to a specific audience, right?
Mhm.
And maybe those people don't fall into it, but that doesn't mean your book is bad. It just means that they're not that audience.
Exactly. No, that was something I really had to keep in mind with this book, especially when I mean, first off, this is a book that's in a queer normative world, so it's very queer. And then also disability is very much at the forefront. And I had to keep in mind, I had to find a balance because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to make it palatable to people who don't fit those groups. And I had to make sure that I was keeping my goals aligned, keeping my goals aligned and not trying to cater to anyone other than who I think needs it the most.
Yeah, and honestly, if you write for yourself, I feel like that's the best audience.
Yeah, that's definitely what this book was.
That's perfect. So you mentioned Clea. So I found her struggles really relatable, maybe too relatable to me. And I was like, oh gosh, no, don't do this. I can see where you're going to be doomed in some places. Um,
Yeah, Clea was writing her. Both of Clea and Ronan's stories were like therapy to me in some ways. I just gave them problems I deal with, and I was like, let's see if you can find a healthier way to handle it. They can't. Spoiler
yeah.
alert. For most of the book, they cannot. But it also, I find it really fun to relate to something and be like, oh no, I see what you're doing, and that's not going to end well.
Well, it's only because I've lived these moments, like
We've all been there in some way. Maybe not the same. Maybe we're not trying to save an alliance between kingdoms,
the stakes are a little bit lower.
but it still feels like it in our hearts.
Yeah, and then there's like these struggles that you have in normal life, which I think you capture really, really well. And that's part of what makes it accessible to me?
Yeah, it's very much while there is a big war and there's magic items and weird creatures and stuff like that. It is the core of the story is very much about problems that we all deal with. And I think that's kind of the magic of fantasy is fantasy can have these huge greater stakes and these huge
Mhm.
greater plots, but when you boil it down, it's really just about problems that everyone faces. It's just a fun and unique way of showing them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, when you were thinking about publishing it, how did you go about submitting, or like, did you find an agent? Like, what?
I had a weird I had a weird path.
Ooh.
So I was doing edits for my book in 2022 and I was posting about my edits online when I was reached out to by one of my editors. She sent me an email and was asking to read it and I was in a panic state. I was almost done with the edits and I was like, "Oh God, it's not done." And do as I say, not as I do. I still sent it. Um, so my recommendation for any aspiring authors, finish your book first. Um, my book, it was like it was done, it was written, but it just wasn't. I think I had like 4 chapters left to edit,
Um,
but they were still written. So I just sent the not fully edited version, with the caveat of like, here are the changes I'm making to this. And then it was actually that editor who put me in touch with my now agent. She had talked with him about the book and he was interested. So I queried him and it was about a month of extreme stress of waiting to see what was going to happen. Luckily enough, he offered to represent me. And then shortly after that, we got the offer from Harper Voyager. I had a weird thing though, because we sold to Harper Voyager UK first.
Ooh, yeah.
which is very in like normally, especially for like US based authors, usually you will sell US first and then eventually try to sell UK. But I did backwards, where we sold UK first and then the US joined in. But yeah, it was a very strange way of selling a book.
I think editors also know like you look for the gems, not the like the surrounding material.
Yeah, she luckily she knew what I wanted to do with the book. She knew, and most of the book was polished and done as much as it could have been at that point. It ended up still changing even further, but she very much got the vision, which I'm so grateful for, because that could have gone very badly.
Well, I don't know. I feel like it probably wouldn't have gone very badly considering I've read the book and it's really good. And even if I see an unpolished version, I think it was still good.
Listen, you don't know this version. No, this version it wasn't that bad. Um, I still laughed because I had some beta readers read it, and one of my favorite notes from one of my friends was, "I love early drafts because you can just write things that make no sense." And I'm like, "Thanks."
Well, I mean, you have to write the things that don't make sense and then realize they don't make sense, all right?
Exactly. No, I think it was just a really random sentence that like there was like a missing period. I
Oh.
This did not it was very questionable, but that's the fun thing with early drafts. I find it very fun to look back at what it was and see what it is now.
Mhm.
Uh, because I'm someone with severe imposter syndrome, but I do feel like this book is definitely something I adore now much more than before.
I feel like everybody's got to have imposter syndrome until they're like J.R.R. Martin level of, and then he
Yeah,
has
no,
imposter because he's not finishing anything.
no, it's so, I think so many people I know, we're all just sitting here with imposter syndrome being like, we don't belong here, but we're gonna stay here for as long as you let us.
Yes. Neil Gaiman, as much as he's kind of fallen from, everybody's love of him because he was a dick, uh, he had this really wonderful, like, thought about the imposter police coming to get him and like everybody. And I love that thought. Maybe not him so much anymore, but like the idea of the imposter piece are never going to come to your door.
No, no, you're so right. That like it honestly feels like the entire process you're just like waiting for someone to be like, you don't belong here, like you don't deserve, and I'm just like, oh God. But that's not reality.
Yeah. Well, it might feel that way if you don't sell a whole lot of copies, but I don't think you're gonna have that problem.
I don't know, I'm still terrified. I still
So
live in fear.
I got the ARC in the mail, and the packaging is the book. And then
Oh my God.
like there's a little notepad and a pen, and I was like, they're going hard, but it's so adorable.
I so that I owe my soul to Jess, my publicist. So Jess and I have been friends for 6 years, before I even sold this book. And when she got signed to be my publicist, it was the best day of my life. I adore her. And that was her little project. And she killed it. It was so amazing. When she would like send me some updates occasionally, and I was like, oh my God, screaming. I actually have the package. I asked her for the extras, so
Well,
I have them in my room.
that makes sense to me though, because what if you want to send out signed copies or something?
Exactly. I have a few friends who are in the US, so they couldn't get the US art, so I'm mailing them some, and I'm gonna send it in the package.
I was like, there's got to be so much money just put into the packaging, but
It's so pretty. It is so pretty. I want it framed.
um, but what else are you doing? Because you mentioned it's like publishing is very much you have to push your own stuff on social media. So what are you doing to help yourself?
So I I'm really making an effort with the marketing. However, I'm also trying to have a healthy work-life balance. It's it's become a running joke with my family, my friends, and I about how the entire theme, like one of the big themes of the Princess Night, is learning to accept sometimes that you have limits and you can't do everything, and you shouldn't try to hurt yourself to when you're by doing too much. Which is so funny because I can write that theme but not internalize it. I was literally having a conversation with my family the other day where they said that to me, and I'm like, "That's Ronan's like arc. That's what he has to learn." And like, now you're saying this to me, and I didn't learn it at all. But so I've been working on that. However, I have a lot of fun with marketing. It's one of my favorite things. I mean, writing is probably my number one favorite thing, but marketing's a close second. I really enjoy it. I really love making Canva graphics. I really love commissioning artists and getting amazing art of the characters that I can then share online and stream about. And for me, I love on social media making videos and especially like trying to find trending sounds that can apply and find a way to make it match the book. And it's a fun little challenge and like a puzzle for me. So I've been making an effort of doing all of that while also still trying to find a balance of not solely talking about my book and still, I don't want to overwhelm people and make them sick of it before it comes out.
Well, I was looking at your Instagram before, just trying to like acquaint myself with what your social media looks like. And you have quite a bit about the Princess Knight, but none of it seems like it's the only thing on your page. So you're doing good.
Thank you. That's a big effort of mine because I want to scream about my book all the time. It takes over my brain. I can't talk to people without mentioning it somehow because it's been in my brain for so long. But I also don't want that to become everything my platforms were because my platforms were so much more before this book was sold. And I want to still offer that content that people came for in the first place.
Yeah, I find that um it's sometimes difficult to reach that balance, but I think once you're done with the promotion, it might be a little bit easier to get back into life as normal, but you have until October, so
Yeah, I got some time. But yeah, no, I think that'll definitely be a little bit easier once we're a little bit past release date.
are you still reading books right now, or are you just working?
I'm still reading, not as much as I used to, which makes me sad and it hurts my soul. But it's mostly just because I'm in the middle of drafting a new book now, and like I have a mindset of I don't want to read too much in the same genre of what I'm writing, otherwise it'll influence it too much.
Hmm.
So, but the downside is I frequently write my favorite genres to read. So I have mostly been reading fan fiction instead,
That's
just while I'm
also
drafting.
that's also very difficult though, because like Thea Guasnan, she wrote fan fiction and then they picked up her book and it's now a wonderful romantasy.
Yeah, no, see, if I used to write fan fiction, if I ever go back to that, that's going on an anonymous account being hidden. That's where I can just have awful writing and be completely self-indulgent in my own little corner. I love that all of the fan fiction authors are coming to TradPub now. It's so fun for me as a fan fiction reader. But I also don't know if I would ever be able to publish any fan fiction I'd write as an actual book.
I think they heavily edited Thea's book.
Oh yeah. No, no, they definitely do. You know, you gotta what is it like file off the serial numbers and all that. But and like sometimes a lot of authors will just take inspiration from a fan fiction they wrote and it won't actually be the exact fanfic. I just fan fiction I've written in the past, that writing is not up to par.
Well, it's fine. It's good like practice.
Exactly. I think fan fiction is actually so fun because you can then it lets you learn more skills with writing, develop your skills, and you actually can get direct feedback and you can really see interaction, and that can really help drive that love and help encourage you to continue to develop your skills.
There's Royal Road is very much like that, but it's for original content instead of like um, fan fiction, basically.
Oh,
Um,
that's fun.
yeah. So if you ever want to write original content, but not sure where to put it, Royal Road's pretty fun.
Okay.
And then people are always there like, I'll be your beta reader. Please let me be your beta reader.
That's amazing. I love that.
So you mentioned you're writing another book right now?
Yes. I've been purposely vague about it online, but it's not under contract. It's like has there no one knows about it but me and my agent and my friends who I annoy. But I am. It's very fun. It's very different from The Princess Knight. It's I'm having a very fun time with it. That's yeah.
Are you gonna write any more in the Princess Knight universe?
If the publishing gods allow me, I have ideas. This is I ever since I wrote the first draft of The Princess Knight, I had an idea for a sequel. I have ideas for so many different things in this world. I even once I was doing occupational therapy, and I had to relearn how to handwrite.
Hmm.
And during that, this was during last year, they would have me write on a piece of paper. So I wrote a short story set in the world of the Princess Knight. Each session, I would write an additional page just for my occupational therapist to read. But as I was writing it, I was like, "Oh, this could be a book. This could be more." So, if the publishing gods allow me, this is me manifesting it. Hopefully, they will.
Well, I imagine the book will do pretty well in October, so I feel like they'll reach out to you.
Fingers crossed. I this is what I'm hoping for it. I'm really hoping. But even if it doesn't, I have exciting stuff I'm working on outside of the Princess Knight that I think will be really fun. Hopefully people who enjoyed the Princess Knight will like it.
Um, so do you always want to kind of stay in this like romantasy-ish realm then?
I think vaguely, like I have always, before I wrote The Princess Knight, I would, ever since I was in middle school, I would try writing books. And I had tried a variety of different genres. None of them were good. But for me, and none of those books were. But I really enjoyed some of those other genres. But I think for right now, kind of fantasy, romantasy is the corner I plan on staying in. However, who knows?
Right.
If I get an idea, I'm probably gonna go with it. And I think also the degree of fantasy, I'm definitely up for changing, doesn't always have to be second world high fantasy. But I will say the ideas that I have and that I've been working on are still in that area.
Well, it's good to know.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't leave fantasy too quickly. It's too fun for me.
well, it just has so much you can do with it, I feel.
Wait, and I'm such a mythology nerd. I love mythology and folklore, and I feel like there's so much play around with that. I mean, especially seen me dabble a little bit with Irish folklore, but there's so much more that I would love to play with, especially because of Princess Knight, like while it's Irish folklore inspired, it's very loose. It's very loose. It's not like a direct one-to-one. There's a lot of other influences in it, and it would just be so fun to play with Irish folklore a little bit more directly.
Ooh, I did read like a lit RPG recently that had Irish gods, and it was like really cool how he did it. So do it.
So fun. The two-a-day Donnan, I love them so much. It's so fascinating.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
And for anybody out there, I highly suggest you pre-order or go pick up, depending on when you're watching or listening, to get the Princess Knight. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone out there has a wonderful day. Bye.